Namaste yogis, welcome back. 1 hour of yin and yang, and Kate will be my model for the day. So let's go ahead and just work our way to getting started. Just start off in child's pose. Big toes touch. Knees can touch as well unless you prefer to open them comfortable width apart. Arms can extend forward or down the sides of your body. The weight of your hips hitting the heels. Forehead resting on the mat. Closing your eyes. And just becoming a little bit more present to where you are right here, right now. Letting go of wherever it is that you came from. Whatever it is you may have to do after class. And just feeling out how you're feeling right here, right now. And for the next 60 minutes, that's all I really ask you to do, is work on becoming present. Letting go of the past and the future, knowing that both are completely out of your control. And even as we go through the next 60 minutes and I am creating a sequence, you still have the control within every single moment to decide how far you take things, or maybe if you modify things. And a huge factor within how you do that or how far you take things is the breath. So let's just begin to deepen the breath by first letting go of a nice long exhale. And then take a deep inhale through your nose. Send that breath to the hook of your tailbone. Feel your ribs expand out horizontally. And then open up your mouth. One more. Deep inhale through the nose, this time holding your breath at the very top. Unless you're pregnant, you always want to keep breathing. And open up the mouth and audibly let it go. Another deep inhale through the nose, capping it off at the peak. Hold that breath a little longer than you think you can. And then keeping the lips sealed, just very slowly exhale out the nose. And then just continue to breathe in and out your nose. And allow every inhale to melt straight into the exhale. And the bottom of the exhale almost begins to force you to inhale. Just a seamless cycle of breath. And for the next 60 minutes, this should be your main goal. To be able to maintain a breath just like this. So if you have gone too far, generally speaking, the breath will become a little short, a little panicked. You might even notice you start holding your breath. So that means maybe you back out a little bit, do a little less, take the modification, so you can remind yourself to simply come back here. Whether that is physically to child's pose or more so the state of mind-body connection via your breathing. So if you're with me, on your next inhale, we'll begin to extend the arms long to the front of the mat. Open your hands up, shoulders distance apart. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, let's come up to all fours or tabletop. Your wrists stacked directly under the elbows, knees open or closed, they stack directly under the hips. And then with an inhale, cow, drop your belly to the mat, let the tailbone and glance up to the sky. Exhale, cat, round through the shoulders, tuck your tailbone, let the head hang heavy. Inhale, gentle sway in the back, just like a cow. Exhale, round and curl like a scared cat. And then just keep going on your own, breath per movement, back and forth. Press into the tops of the feet and the shins. If your toes are tucked, that's fine, just drive your heels back. Make sure you are pressing into the palms and your arms stay straight as you hug your triceps back the whole time. If you want to find circular motions within the hips and the neck to get into the lateral sides of your spine, be my guest. Make sure you go in both directions if you haven't gone or done so already. And then as you're ready, we'll inhale, come to a flat back or neutral spine. Sit bones point straight back, crown of the head lengthens forward. Now pressing into the palms so much that the center of your chest actually begins to lift up towards the ceiling. Notice how you kind of get a little bit of a cat pose in the upper back. So keep the height of your chest, but I want you to think of hugging your shoulder blades down the back. Use those serratus muscles, and that should flatten out the shoulder blades and the space between them. Now you're going to keep that, but tuck your toes. Drive your heels back just enough that the knees come to a hover, maybe a millimeter, just enough that you could slide an index finger in underneath them. Pull the belly and tuck your tailbone to the space between your knees. Keep pressing into those hands so the chest still lifts away from the mat. Soften in the face. Now you're going to just step your right foot way back as if it were in high plank. Toes still tucked, heels pressed back, belly pulls in. And then step the left foot back, feet hips distance apart, heels pressed back, thighs firm up, belly pulls in. Notice if the chest is sagging, push into those hands, keep the chest up away from the mat. Think more horseshoe shape in the front of your body. Take a deep inhale, and then exhale, downward dog, lift your hips up and back. Feel free to pedal out your feet, maybe come up and down on your toes. The hands shouldn't have moved, they should still be jutting straight out from your shoulders, and maybe you look at them just to make sure it's the index and middle finger that point straight forward. If you are sensitive and the wrists are super tight in your shoulders, you could turn your hands a little further out. But as you relax your head and neck, just look back at your feet. Let them rest, hips distance apart. Make your heels spin back and just slightly out so they disappear behind the toes. Then even if you have to bend the knees a lot, I want you to think of lifting the hip creases straight up towards the sky, releasing the lower back. And again, push so much into the hands that the chest actually begins to lift towards your hips. Outer shoulders wrap towards your outer ribs. Front ribs knit in. Keeping the length of your spine, the height of your hips, begin to push the tops of your thighs straight back to work your heels down towards the mat. Now make sure you are pushing into the whole circumference of your palms. So I find that it helps if you just lift your fingertips up off the mat. And then as you spread your fingers wide, fan them into the ground, root each knuckle ending with your fingertips. And then with an inhale, we will come forward, high plank, just like we've done. Heels pressed back, crown of the head pulls forward. Thighs lift, tailbone tucks down, belly pulls in. You push into the hands so your chest lifts, but don't cat the shoulder blades. Hug them down your back. Root down to the inner edge of your palm. Breathe in and out your nose. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, downward dog, lift it up and back. Inhale, come forward, high plank. Pause. This time you're just going to lift the right foot about an inch up off the ground. Flex to the heel. Both legs are equally as active. The right hip should lift, level with the left. Belly pulls tight. And then pulling that knee to your left elbow across the body. Don't let your right shoulder shoot forward. Keep it in check. Now hover your right leg straight back to where it came from, three-legged plank. Exhale, pull the knee to your right arm. Now inhale, hover the foot back. If you need to put the foot down or even drop your knees, do so. Lean forward with your shoulders. Exhale, halfway down. Inhale, straighten the arms. And exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. Inhale, come forward, high plank. Tighten up the belly, lifting the left foot just an inch up off the ground, hovering at less than you think you should. Maybe be able to stack 8/4 between your big toe and the mat. And then make sure your glance is still coming forward to the front of your mat. Now with an exhale, pull the knee down and over to your right elbow without letting that left shoulder shoot or hunch forward. Hover the foot straight back, three-legged plank. Exhale, knee to the left arm, belly in. Inhale, hover it back. Remember, put the foot down, even drop your knees if you need to. Lean forward. Exhale, halfway down, low plank. But then we come straight back up, high plank. And exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. Now let's inhale to high plank. As you lean forward, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, maybe up dog, just stay gentle. And then exhale, roll over your toes, lift your hips, downward dog. Now from downward dog, let's inhale the right leg to the sky, flex to the heel, keep that right hip square to the ground. And then with an exhale, pull the knee down and over to your left elbow. Remember, upper body lands in high plank like we've done. Inhale, kick the leg up and back. Exhale, pull the knee to your right elbow, tricep or outer shoulder if you can get it there. Inhale, kick it to the sky. Exhale to the left. Inhale, stretch it back. And exhale to the right. And then just go on your own, breath per movement, back and forth, left to right, right to left, wherever you're at, find that sequence by following your breath. Every inhale initiates the lift up, every exhale pulls that knee to either arm. And then with an inhale, we'll meet with that leg lifting up behind us together. Exhale, pull the knee to your chest. Look forward so you can step next to the right thumb. Go ahead and drop the back knee, top of the foot to the mat. Slide that leg back a good inch, maybe even 2, and then reach both arms straight up to the sky, low lunge crescent. So with your back foot, the toes release, so the top of your foot, the shin pushes not only straight down, but think of energetically driving it back. Especially that outer left ankle, hug it in so it doesn't flop out. As that allows your hips to descend forward and get heavy, make sure you squeeze the inner thighs closest together. Tuck your tailbone down. You really want to feel the front of your pelvis lift as the front ribs knit in and down. The tops of your shoulders, the trapezius should be soft, and your shoulder blades, they're still wrapping to the outer rib cage as they begin to lift up. It's a natural phenomenon that happens when we do lift our arms up. So you don't want to necessarily shoulder blade drop. It's just the top of your shoulder muscles, those soften and release down. Energize your fingertips. Breathe in and out your nose. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, release your hands to the mat. Pull your front leg straight. Flex your right foot, rock to the back of your heel. Imagine dragging your right heel back as you do so. Breathe. So now I want you to take that left foot that's behind you and just slide it over to your left about 2 or 3 inches. Just 2 or 3 inches, not too much. There you go. Now you might even use your hands. Begin to crawl them back, even maybe behind your hips as you slowly work your hips to the mat. They should sit inside your left foot as if you were going into a half virasana. Both sit bones down, flex that right heel, squeeze the inner thighs closer together. Breathe. Lift through the spine. So again, you can use your hands, but you want to push a lot of weight into your left shin. Begin to lift your hips and rebend that front knee. Oh, come forward, reach your arms up. Now take an inhale. As you exhale, you're going to slowly straighten the leg. Work on sitting your hips back to where they came from. If you can do it without using your hands, great. Now push into the shin, rebend the front knee by dragging that right heel back. Use your hands if you need to, reach up. We got one more coming. Slowly straighten the leg. Try to resist that place. We're just going to collapse back. And then push into the shin. Squeeze the inner thighs, rebend the knee, reaching up. Take an inhale. As you exhale, left hand to the mat, circle your right arm up to the sky. Press into the left palm, roll your left shoulder blade down the back, lengthening your left ribs forward into it. That's going to give space to your thoracic spine. Now keep your upper body, tuck your back toes, drive your left heel back, lift the left thigh bone up towards the ceiling. Hug the outer right hip in, but also think of swinging it forward and down as if you're trying to get that right sit bone to touch the knee. And then taking your top arm up and overhead, palm should face the mat, wrap your tricep towards your face. Hug the front ribs and away from your right leg, and then think of twisting your left side ribs towards the inner right thigh. Beautiful. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, right hand to the mat. Step your right foot back, maybe hover it back, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog, and exhale, downward dog. From downward dog, we'll lead with the inner left thigh, lift your left leg to the sky. Square off through the hips. With an exhale, pull the knee down and over to your right, shoulders stack at your wrist, belly tight. Inhale, stretch it up and back. Exhale, knee to your left arm. Try not to bend your elbow. Inhale, kick it for the sky. And exhale to the right. Inhale, stretch it back. And exhale to the left. On your own, breath per movement, just like we did on the other side. Breathe a little deeper, move a little slower. Remember, follow your breath. It's not about how many you get in or how quickly you get it done. And then slowly we'll meet with the leg lifting up behind us. Together, exhale, knee to chest. Look forward so you can step forward, left foot next to the left thumb. Release the back knee, the top of the foot down. Maybe slide it back an inch, not too much. And then inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. So flex through that front leg. You want to imagine dragging your left heel back. That's going to help resist or force your shin forward. Just make sure your knee doesn't go past the toes. It should stack at your ankle. Tuck your tailbone down so the lower belly and front ribs can lift. As you push into the right shin, the top of your foot, that should help stabilize you. Front ribs knit in. And remember, the scapula, those shoulder blades, they're naturally going to ascend or lift because you're lifting the arms. There's nothing you can do about that. But notice the top muscles in those shoulders, the trapezius, they tend to tense and get really tight. So can you just soften them? And that should feel as if they drop down your back. Fingertips are active, face is soft. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, hands to the mat. Pause, pull your front leg straight and flex your left toes back towards you. Imagine dragging that left heel back. So you know what's coming. Remember, if that's way too much, you can always just stop at this position. But if you're going to go a little further with me, turn your right toes out a little bit more, just 2 inches, it's not much. Begin to crawl your hands back towards that right knee. Begin to sit your hips inside your right foot if you can without rolling to the arch of your foot. Keep the top of your foot down. Make sure both sit bones root down. If not, just make sure that you do use your hands to help keep you lifted enough that your hips stay level. Imagine dragging that left heel back towards you. Pull the belly in. And then pressing into the shin, your hands slowly re-bend the knee and reach up towards the sky. Beautiful. And then exhale. If you can, keep reaching forward. If you need to release the hands down, use them, but you'll sit down. Pull the belly tight, squeeze the inner thighs close together, push into the shins, maybe even your hands, slowly re-bend the knee and reach up. Slowly straighten the leg. Drag that left heel back to slowly sit down. Yeah. Push into your right shin, slowly bend the knee and reach up. We got one more. Sitting back, Ardha Virasana. Beautiful. Push into the shin, maybe it's your hands, re-bend that front knee, reach up. Nice. Gets easier as we become more familiar with the movement, but take an inhale. Exhale, right hand down, left arm circles up. Right palm pushes down, so really take this time to work on the structure of the pose. Right shoulder blade, wrap it down the back. Don't let it hunch forward. There it is. Then sandwich the right ribs forward into that. Notice how that gives this jump in the thoracic spine. Keep the top arm just reaching straight up from the shoulder. We have a tendency to pinch it back behind us. Don't do that. Now keep your upper body as it is. Tuck your back toes. Drive the heel back. Lift that right thigh bone up. Check in with the upper body, make sure the right shoulder didn't roll forward. Hug the front body in away from that left thigh. As you hug the left hip back, take your top arm up and overhead, get longer. Left palm should face the mat, tricep tugs down towards the face. The only side of the torso that's working towards your thigh is the outer right rib cage. Rotate them towards your leg. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, left hand to the mat. Step back, chaturanga, lower slow. Inhale, lifts the spine, cobra or up dog, stay gentle. Exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. Now let's inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back, and exhale, fold in. Now the same flat back. Inhale, circle or sweep your arms to the sky. Tadasana, just come all the way up, look up. And then exhale, pull the hands to heart center, Samasthiti. Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, arms fall before they rise. Exhale, forward fold, hinge at the hip. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, plant the hand stepper, jump back, chaturanga. Inhale, lifts the spine. And exhale, downward dog. So we have a few more coming. Let's inhale, bend the knees, look forward, draw your hips back. Exhale, take a giant step or walk. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, reverse swan dive your arms to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, circle your arms for the sun. Exhale, bow forward towards the earth. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, urdhva mukha or upward facing. Exhale, adho mukha, downward facing. From downward facing dog, we inhale, draw the hips back, look forward as you bend the knees. Exhale, walk or spring. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, root down to rise up, Tadasana. Exhale, pull the hands through heart center. Last one is on your own. As you're ready, flow freely. Don't feel rushed. Please just follow your breath. If you want to add something in, take something out, do so. It's your practice. We'll meet you in downward dog, and there's no rush to get there. I mean, beyond the fact that it's only an hour class and we do have other places to go. But take your time. Find your downward dog. Check in with your breath. Don't worry about where we've been or where we're going. Just sit with your breathing. And then from downward dog, let's go ahead and inhale the right leg to the sky. Bend the knee, open your hip. Right heel pulls towards your bottom, right hip lifts towards the ceiling. But if your right shoulder goes with you, wrap the outer right rib cage down, torso squares off. Push evenly into both hands so the chest still lifts away from the mat. You're not sagging it towards the earth. Now take an inhale. Exhale, pull the knee to your nose, shoulders over wrists, round to the shoulders today like a scared cat, belly tight. Inhale, lift that leg up and back, bend the knee and open your hip. Exhale, pull the knee to the nose, tuck the chin, belly in. Inhale, stretch it back, open it up. On your own like this, breath per movement. So today we are pulling the knee to the nose, trying to curl through the spine. Think cat pose as you come forward. Open the hip at the top of your inhale when you take that leg up and back. But most importantly, breathe. Try not to get too focused on the movement that you lose your breath. And then with an inhale, we'll lift that leg, open the hip. As you exhale, pull the knee to your chest, look forward and step next to the right thumb. So the feet should land in train tracks, right? Or not necessarily in line with one another. Stay on the back toes, inhale, reach to the sky, crescent pose. So bend the back knee enough that you can actually pull the left heel forward and stack it with the ball mount of your foot. That should release the excess tension in the front of your left hip so you can actually mobilize your hips. Tuck the tailbone down so the front of your pelvis lifts. Once you feel as if your pelvis were just sitting like you were standing up and down, pull the belly tight, a deep Uddiyana Bandha. Pull it into the spine but also up towards your ribs. Work your inner thighs away from each other. Inner right thigh draws forward and down. Inner left thigh works its way back and up. Same thing we did in the upper body. Knit the front ribs in. You're lifting the shoulders, the arms, but the trapezius drop down your back. Take an inhale. Exhale, reach your right arm back, left arm forward, twist open. Make sure your hips didn't go with you. That right hip has a tendency to pop out and your left hip almost spins forward towards your inner right thigh. So drop your right sit bone as if you're trying to hook it towards your inner left thigh and then drive through the outer left ankle to make sure you plug that left hip back. Tuck the tailbone down, pull the belly and expand the arms apart. Now it's going to be a little awkward, a little bit weird, but whether it's like a helicopter or a windmill, come to warrior two. So just open the arms up in the opposite direction as you turn your back heel down. Front heel will line up with the back heel or back arch. Back toes, make sure they do turn forward to the front of your mat at least 10 degrees. The tighter you are in the hip, the further forward they can come. But inner left thigh, that's that back leg, should wrap back as your inner right thigh draws forward. Get that front knee to stack at your ankle and then push it out to the right so you can see your big toe. Tuck your tailbone down, pull the lower belly and front ribs in. Once you feel your back ribs are not compressing into the lower back, you should be able to pull the left side ribs in line with the right. So as if you're leaning your shoulders against the wall behind you. Nice adjustment. Expand the arms apart. Focusing over the front hand. Go ahead and just wrap your left hand onto the lower back. Reach for the right hip crease, maybe even grab the top of that thigh. Flip your right palm up, inhale, reach it up, bound, reverse warrior. Pull the belly in. Since you don't have the supportive weight in that back hand, let the right leg go forward and think of jumping your right hip up towards your right fingertips to extend back. Stop before you feel pinching compression, trying to create space. Now keep that half bind. Take an inhale. You're going to slowly begin to reach your right arm forward, forward, forward. A half bound unsupported side angle. Just going straight into it. Ground down to the knife edge of your back foot. That right palm should face up. That rotation didn't change. Breathe. Now as you're here, look down. I want you to just slowly watch your front leg straighten out and then release your right hand onto the shin. Hug that outer right hip back. Wrap the outer right thigh back. Make sure you don't shove your right knee back. Just make the knees soft. Squeeze the inner thighs closer together. Lift the tip of your left shoulder up. Pull the lower belly in. So again, keeping your half bind, I want you to look 12 inches in front of your right foot. Bend the knee, step your right hand there as you lift your back foot up. A half bound, half moon. If you need a prop, use it. I find height gives a lot of stability to the pose. Flex the back foot. Spin the inner left thigh, that's in the top leg, down towards your right leg. But don't let the hip drop. The hip is still lifting up. If you want height in the back leg, lift your inner thigh up towards the inner ankle. If you want more, you can take the Chapasana variation. You bend the back foot, reach back with that right hand. It's already there, grabbing the foot. Nice. And then kick the foot away from your bottom. Think behind you, not towards the ceiling necessarily. Cobra up dog in the shoulders. Helps to have the right hand slightly to the right of your right foot. It gives you a little bit broader of a base. Find a focal point, something to help your eyes stay focused, but remember, always come back to your breath. Now, if you're in that Chapasana variation, very slowly kick the leg back, reach your left arm up, bend the standing leg deeply, and then very gently reverse warrior. Step that left foot back, fan your arms up and back. Just take one deep inhale. Exhale, cartwheel your hands to the mat and lift that front leg up and back, three-legged dog. Bend the knee, open the hip. Slowly flip your dog, wild thing. Right toes touch down behind you. Reach your right arm up and overhead, palm facing the mat. Think side plank in that left leg. Push into the left palm, roll your left shoulder blade down the back. Breathe. Now listen carefully. I want you to put the top of your right foot down. So rather than being on your toes, untuck them. Point them towards your front hand. Very slowly, maybe your right hand comes up to the ceiling. And then begin to drop your right knee, your right hand to the mat. We're going to straighten that left leg out, just like we did in the very beginning, same shape. Maybe you're sitting on the heel. Maybe you're using your hands. Breathe. Drag that left heel back. Squeeze the inner thighs closer together. Then pressing into the hands, pressing into your right shin, bend your left knee, reach up. Knit the front ribs in. Maybe you take this back a little bit. If you want to cactus your arms, that helps broaden the upper back. Sink your hips down the further back you go. Breathe. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands to the mat, tuck your back toes, downward dog. Shuffling back onto the mat if you need that. So from downward dog, let's inhale the left leg to the sky. Bend the knee, open the hip, relax the head and neck, square off through your torso. And then with an exhale, pull the knee to your nose, round the shoulders, pull the belly in. Inhale, lift the leg, open the hip. Exhale, knee to nose, belly tight. Inhale, stretch it up and back. On your own, breath per movement. Think cat pose as you come forward today. Maybe a little bit of a cow pose when you open the hip, but nothing too extreme. Breathe into the pose. And then with an inhale, we'll meet with that leg up. Exhale, knee to nose, but this time you have to look forward so you can step forward. Staying on the back toes, inhale, crescent pose, we rise. So bending into the back knee. Remember, back heel should stack with the ball mount of your foot as if it were against a wall behind you. Tailbone tucks down, lower belly pulls in. And then you want to work your inner thighs away from each other. So the inner right thigh drives back and up, but the heel never necessarily pushes back. Inner left thigh draws the knee forward, getting you lower, but make sure it doesn't shoot out over your ankle. Tadasana, from your hips to your fingertips. Soften your face. Take an inhale. Exhale, left arm reaches back, right arm forward. Expand the chest. That's very easy to do. Just make sure you're not pinching the shoulder blades together. Even the shoulders, you want to try and draw them apart. Let the twist come from just above your belly button. Breathe in and out your nose. And while you're sitting here, remember, you're premeditating at this point. Warrior two, you either helicopter your arms open or cartwheel the opposite direction as the back heel goes down. Heel to heel alignment or heel to arch. Just make sure those back toes do turn forward at least 10 degrees. Whether it's a 90-degree angle in your front leg or not, I don't care. Just make sure that front knee does stack with your ankle. Tailbone draws down, arms expand apart. And then we'll wrap the right hand onto the lower back. It could just stay on the lower back unless you can reach and grab the top of your thigh. Flip the left palm up, inhale, reach it up, stretch. Left leg works its way forward. Top arm as straight as can be. Up comes first. The backward reach will come when you jump your left hip up off the top of your thigh. Breathe. Now keep that length, slowly pull the belly and reach your left arm as far forward as it will go and hover before you collapse your left rib cage. You might not be as close to your left leg as you'd like to be, and that's okay. Lift the tip of your right shoulder, hug the front body in. Now keep the left arm for now, just look down. Slowly watch your front leg straight and then place your left hand on the shin without shoving your knee back. But hug the outer left hip, outer left thigh, and outer calf back. Squeeze the inner thighs towards each other. As the right shoulder lifts, the front body pulls in. Now keeping the half bind, you'll look 12 inches in front of your left foot, little bend in the knee so you can step the left hand forward, lift the back foot up. Use your prop if you need it. Props are very, very useful, very handy. As you lift the right hip and shoulder up, towards the ceiling, just remember that inner right thigh does wrap down to anchor your right leg into the hip. Hug the outer left hip back. Stabilize by pressing into your left big toe. Maybe try working your left ribs away from your hip. And then if you took it, Chapasana, Ardha Chandrasana, bend that back knee, grab the foot, and then kick the foot away from you. Think cobra up dog, more on the shoulders rather than just dumping into your lower back. Pull your lower belly in to support the back bend. The front body should always be engaged, even in our back bends. With control, don't let it become a boomerang. Kick your leg back, reach your arm up. Once you expand open, bend your standing leg. Very gently reverse warrior. Float the foot back, flip the left arm up and back. Take an inhale. Exhale, windmill your hands to the mat. Lift your front leg up behind you, three-legged dog. Bend the knee, open your hip. Slowly, wild thing. The toes of the left foot will touch down behind you as you reach your left arm up and overhead. Straighten out through that bottom leg, press into the right palm, roll the right shoulder blade down the back. So remember, you know the shape. The first time around it's a little wonky, but you're going to put the top of your left foot down, reach your left arm up. You might even use that to slowly drop your hips down, straighten your right leg down, level out the hips. Use your hands, prop up to keep those sit bones level. Nice. Squeeze the inner thighs closer together. So remember, you're going to try and push into your left shin, slowly re-bend the knee, reach your arms up, low lunge crescent. As the hips go down, try to lift the spine enough that you can begin to go back, but don't force it. Try to create space within the lumbar spine by knitting the front ribs in. The higher the spine lifts, the more it will go back. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands down. Step back, chaturanga. As you're ready, no rush. Inhale, find your back bend. And exhale, downward dog. From downward dog, let's just take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Hold that breath at the very top. Open up the mouth. One more deep inhale through the nose to hold. This time, like a line, stick out your tongue. And then drop to your knee. Crawl forward a bit so you're not so far back on your mat. Bring your knees to touch, but now open your feet up just wider than your hips. If you look back, you should see your heels framing your hips. Now take your hands to your calves and roll your calves out away from each other as you work your hips in between the heels. So if your hips do not naturally just sit and hit the earth, use a pillow, a bolster, something underneath them so they can root down. You may even use a block, a couple books since you're at home. So you can stay here, rest your hands on your thighs, and just make sure, again, the pelvis is neutral. You don't have that tailbone rounding underneath you. The shoulders soften, the crown of the head lifts. Notice how this feels in your knee. Generally, it's definitely uncomfortable, but what I want you to stay away from is sharp, pain-like sensations. Maybe if you feel like something's going to tear, pop, pull, all those things, you want to stay away from it. So you could very much stay here and just work within the ligaments of the knees and the tops of your feet. If you want to take this into a back bend, you will need props. So the first block, I would say, put it on the tallest level, about 6 inches behind your hips. Go ahead and work your way back. Use your hands behind you. That block should rest in between the shoulders. And then the second block will be one level lower, and sometimes it has to be the same level as the first block. Arms will fall down and back, opening up. If you want to cactus your arms, grab opposite elbows over your head. Be my guest. Close your eyes. The knees can begin to splay apart. That's going to be normal, especially if you're more externally rotated, oriented in your hips. The only thing I don't want to see is the knees kind of peeling up like dry paint. The knees should always stay in the mat. So if going over blocks doesn't work in your body, you can always just take your hands behind you and begin to just roll the shoulders down the back and maybe gently let your head fall back, right? There's always different levels that you can do with different poses, so never feel pressured to take full expression or whatever the person on camera is doing. You need to learn to listen to the body. So if you have your arms interlaced over your head or forearms crossed, you can switch the cross in your arms. Even that out. We'll only be in this one for 3 minutes, so you're more than halfway done at this point. just because this pose tends to be a big one. It's not a pose that you commonly see or do within a power yoga class, and I think it is because it's very confronting for a lot of people. And it being the first yin pose of the practice is almost sometimes kind of like throwing you to the wolves, right? You have to tune into the breath almost right out the gate. Check in with the body, listen to the sensations it's sending. Stay away from pain at all costs. But breathe through discomfort, even if that means the body is almost trembling, shaking, muscles could be twitching. Getting still can be very difficult. Some days it's easier than others. So with your arms over your head, you're just going to slowly open them up, fan them forward, and then plant your hands behind your feet, if you can. If not, just press into your elbows to tuck your chin into the chest, press up onto the hands, and then slowly come up. Crawl forward, all fours. Staying on all fours, you'll just tuck your toes. With your toes tucked, let your heels fall side to side, windshield washing your feet. That'll kind of wiggle the patella around and move the knees around, getting some fluid back into there. And then as you're ready, go ahead and cross one ankle over the other, sit back behind your feet, bring your legs straight out in front of you. Find your sit bones, grab the cushion, aka butt cheek, pull it back, do the same thing to both sides. So your choice, you've already done Virasana in both legs. If you want to take it again, you'll bring your right leg into Virasana and open your knees as far apart as they'll go. So you're gonna be more in like a half side split and half Virasana, or if you've had enough within the knees, bring that right foot into the sole or right foot into the inner groin. But open your knees apart. So open that right knee as far back to the back of your mat as you can, sliding the foot in towards your groin. And then just bringing your hands straight out in front of your hips. So you're not turning towards your left leg today like we do for Janu Sirsasana. And then just round your spine. Think of tucking your chin, forehead towards your pubic bone, right? So you have to keep the torso straight out from the hips. And then we'll crawl forward, resting your forehead somewhere on a block or two, maybe sometimes three. Let your arms hang heavy, elbows touch. If not, they sag towards the mat. Your right knee anchors down and back, whether it's in Virasana or butterfly shape. Let the left leg soften, including the left foot. With the eyes closing, soften those little muscles in the outer eyes so you're no longer squinting. Let that softness translate down into the jaw. Finding a slight separation of the teeth. A nice way to make sure the jaw is relaxed. I like to run my tongue along the front portion of my top teeth, from the back molar all the way forward and then all the way to the opposite side. Maybe doing that a couple times and then letting the tongue soften and just sit within the bottom chambers of your jaw. With your head resting on something, you should be able to notice all the muscles within your shoulders releasing, expanding, finding space. Even those little muscles within the suboccipital lobes, which is the very base of your skull. A whole bunch of little intricate muscles that sit there. And they tend to be much tighter than we would expect them to be. Coming back to your breath. In and out your nose. Trying to get it as long, as slow, and as deep as you did in the very beginning of class. And then on an exhale, you're going to begin to pull the belly in and just roll your spine up, vertebrae by vertebrae, walking your hands back. Allow your head and neck to be very last to come. Take your right hand to the outside of the right knee. You can place your left hand outside the hip so you can lean over, lift that leg up, slowly slide it forward. You could even wiggle your patella around the kneecap itself. And then as you're ready, you'll bring your left leg into either a half virasana or half butterfly, but straddled out. So getting the knees as far apart as they can get from one another. Keeping your torso square with the front of your hips. Tuck your chin, let your forehead begin to fall towards your pubic bone, rounding out, belly pulling in to get the lower back to round. Getting as low as your body allows it. Letting your forehead find a spot to rest. Allowing it to ground down. So just remember that being grounded doesn't necessarily mean touching the ground. But as long as the block, the books are supported by the ground, your forehead rests on them, the shoulders can soften. The arms can release. Just getting very heavy. Allowing yourself to get soft. And closing your eyes if they're not already. Hone in on your breathing. Breathing is kind of one of those fickle, funny things in the sense that it is an involuntary action. It happens without us thinking about it. So training ourselves to begin to pull the mind and focusing on something that ordinarily doesn't need our attention. It's a great exercise for the mind, but also for the lungs, because the lungs, just like every other muscle in the body, can get stronger. So the more we practice those deep breathings, the longer the breaths eventually become. I try and tell my students to try and get every inhale to be anywhere between 7 to 15 seconds long. And some people think that that is an unrealistic number. Yet it's said that Iyengar, one of the forefathers of what we know about yoga here in the West, he could get every inhale and every exhale to be 30 seconds long, which means over the course of 1 minute, all he had to do was take one breath. So within the yin portion of practice, it didn't seem like very long, right? So although it may seem like a contradiction, the longer and deeper you can actually get your breath to be, the quicker time will pass in the pose. With time, commitment, patience, you will get those long, deep, drawn-out breaths. Noticing if the mind is questioning if I forgot about you. And if not, I'm just giving you a few moments in silence. A few moments with just you, your body, and your breath. And on an exhale, so you can begin to pull the belly in to support the spine as slow as you can. You'll roll your spine up, walking the hands back, don't rush it. Maybe taking that left hand to the bottom of the knee, especially if you're in Virasana. Take your time to straighten that leg out. Scooting the bottom forward so you're not so far back on your mat. If you have a bolster, go ahead and place it just behind you, running vertically the length of your mat, so you can lie across it with your spine. The hips should fall off the edge of your bolster so the lower back kind of finds a release. If that's enough release within the lumbar spine, you could stay there. If you have two blocks and you want a little bit more, you could slide them underneath the backs of your legs. I like to put the bottom edge of the block just behind the knee crease. The blocks run horizontally so the thighs have a nice broad edge to rest on. Arms fall down and away from the sides of your body, palms face up. Savasana. So as your feet flop open, the shins and the knees will follow. Fingertips begin to curl as the forearms and biceps get heavy. Relax the jaw, allow the tongue to actually melt back towards the earth. Unfurl the eyebrows, soften the eyelids. Whether they fully come to a close or you have them at that yogi kind of half split. If you keep the eyes in that half split, maybe focus on the tip of your nose. Release your breath. And then give yourself permission to let go. Find that sense of release from the inside out. begin to deepen your breath as if you're using your breath to pull yourself back into the body. Becoming more aware once again of the weight of the body sitting on the mat. Do not worry about the past, for nobody knows how the world ever began. And do not fear the future, for nothing lasts forever. If you dwell in the past or the future, you will miss the present moment. A short poem by Rumi. But a nasty habit that we all tend to develop in life is we're constantly trying to plan and predict our future. Everything we do in life generally is building up to something we want to achieve or something we want to gain. And if we're not planning and predicting for the future, generally we're meditating, sitting, dwelling, worrying about how we could possibly go back and change something we've done in our past. We don't have the ability to time travel. And oftentimes, even if we did, if you really ask yourself the question of going back to change something, would you actually do it? It's really so much of what has happened in our past, whether you see it or not, are learning lessons. And we have zero control of the past or the future. But as I said earlier, we have control of the decisions we make and the actions we take in the here and now. And oftentimes it's the decisions we make in the present moment that mold how we view our past. And then oftentimes what comes to us in the future. It's one of the laws of karma. So the practice of asana, or really being present with your body as it works its way through certain poses, even just being with it on every inhale and every exhale, is ideally a tool that we are meant to take with us off the mat. Giving ourselves the gift of presence always, in all aspects of our life. So today I'm going to offer you that benefit of drawing out this moment of being right here, right now, for as long as you'd like. If you have to get up and go and do and move about, do so slowly for your own benefit, just like you would at the end of any class with me guiding you out. And also remembering that this is meant to be something I hope you take with you off the rubber mat. But on that note, namaste.